GM Cat. Hey, Cat. Say hello, you big ball of fluff. All right, I wasn't going to do this today because I'm tired and the weather is messing with my head, but so many people responded to my request, and my ear's all infected again. Yay, weather. Who cares? Let's just assume I'm always a healthy mess. So many people reacted to my request to send me the actual thing from Radiant Citadel that supposedly is upsetting. So thank you, Pundit, for linking to me directly. Wow. Thank you, Rasputin and DM Kurt and Robert and the other people who sent it to me. So let's read it, shall we? And warning, I'm going to read it as written, and then I'm going to go back and read it again and comment on it. All right. I don't know what section this is. It feels like it's in the introduction. So it goes on. The first one is blah, 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 city, blah, 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 crystal, blah, 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 thingies, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Nothing really thing. That sentence reads fine. That's typical, this is the emotional environment of the Radiant Citadel. This is the awe-inspiring, alien artwork and artifactory of this city, and this is how you could maybe, let's use a lot of big words that inspire certain imagery so that you can sort of get across how wacky this place is. Okay, perfectly harmless. Then the next line is, heroes and paupers meet on equal footing in the Radiant Citadel. By common agreement, power and resources are equally shared. Dignity is afforded to all, and great need is met with great aid. Were these written by two different people? Now I get they're trying to present the Radiant Citadel as this safe utopia sitting on the edge of this maelstrom of interdimensional chaos. So here's the one safe place, It reads kind of like the opening lines from the various seasons of Babylon 5. It's a place like no other. A place where everybody could meet on equal grounds and talk trades. And that's fine, except it sort of just feels kind of cringy. Oh, heroes and paupers meet on equal footing in the Radiant Citadel. We know that. Yeah. Okay, so I could see how this one could upset people because it kind of reads sort of like the Communist Manifesto. Everybody's the same. Workers are treated the exact same way as soldiers who are treated the exact same way as so-and-so. And, but yeah, some people said that one. That one's not too upsetting, okay? I get what they're trying for. It feels like the opening speech, like Star Trek, Babylon 5. There was a place like no other where everybody could meet, no matter whatever walk in life. Except when going to Babylon 5, that's not true, that there's a seedy underbelly to Babylon 5, that there's not equality, that Babylon 5 is an experiment that's always one bad day away from failing. DS9 was an experiment that was always one bad way from a failing. The introduction was the blanket, but when you actually get into DS9, Babylon 5, this type of story, you see that the seedy underbelly and the corruption and the mutual respect and dignity isn't there. It's always being trying to attain, which would be great storytelling, except that's, not what Wizards of the Coast is doing here. They're not creating a fully dimensional, multicultural, multi-economic level lifeboat in the middle of this interdimensional chaos that is the Radiant Citadel. They're not giving it the history, and they're not giving us, the hook that we need to tell that story. And I'm going to keep referring back to DS9 and Babylon 5, so just expect that. Those stories work. Lankmar works, Sanctuary works, Freeport works, Stargate works, DS9 works, Babylon 5 works because we know that's not true. The introduction isn't true. We know that it's an ideal that they're trying to always achieve. They're always trying to get there, but they're flawed. And that's what makes the story, you know. They're not perfect, and DS9 isn't perfect, and Babylon 5 wasn't perfect. But it was trying. And the story as a game would be, yes, on the surface, this is what the Radiant Citadel appears to be, but as you explore the Radiant Citadel, you begin to see that no, like any other living, breathing city, there are layers of politics and layers of corruption, and for every good thing, there's 5 bad things, but they're always trying to work for that betterment, but we know they're always kind of fumbling. And that's the story. That's the enjoyment of the story. That's why that story works. But Wizards of the Coast is saying, nope, this is a perfect utopia where everybody is the same. When you know that's not true. That guy over there is not getting 10,000 gold pieces every time he walks out the door. Only the player characters are. It's not equal. It can't be equal. All right, so that's okay. Now let's move on to the one that is really disturbing. Okay, where is it? I downloaded it, but I can't find it now. Where is it? And look, the thing's going crazy. Is this it? No, that's not it. All right, hold on, let me find it. One moment, please. Look at me, all prepared. Somebody sent it to me on Twitter, so... here it is. All right, thank you. This is from DN Kirk. Okay, so there's 3 lines for this. I don't know where in the book this is. It feels like it's at the beginning. This is the one that is getting the negative response, both from non-5e players, and strangely enough, a lot of 5e players are just like, nope, I'm not touching that. So like I said, I'm going to read it straight through, and then I'm going to count it. Then I'm going to read it again and make my usual level of commentary. Line 1, gradual explanation. You don't have to reveal a setting's entire culture at once. That's absolutely true. Skip details that aren't immediately relevant to the characters. Again, absolutely true. And reveal the details as they arise. A scene in a tavern presents opportunity to introduce distinct foods, while a market trip is a great time to note varieties addressed. Yes, that's fine. That's absolutely perfect. If I was writing a script or an adventure that dealt with multiple cultures and traveling to different worlds and knowing the attention span of my audience, no, you do not spend 20 minutes describing every single solitary detail of every single solitary thing they pass. Slowly introduce that to them. You know, show them what they would immediately notice. Oh, look, there's a giant statue of a woman on fire in the center of the city. That's probably worth your attention, as opposed to, look at the intricate carvings of the banister of this one stairway that reflects a culture that was here that is got. No, D&D character players don't care. If they ask questions, answer them. Otherwise, you know, you don't need to... Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. You don't have to reveal a setting's entire culture at once. Perfect. No problem with that line. Number 2, highlight what's familiar. Highlight what's familiar in a culture and how it's like other locations. This can help ground characters to their experiences and better understanding where they're visiting. Again, 100% true. Everywhere you go, you're going to find a McDonald's. No matter where you go. There's a McDonald's. Everywhere you go, you're going to find, you know, trees. You're going to find bathrooms. Every culture has something similar about them, and then we discover what's alien. We automatically gravitate towards what we recognize, and then as we're longer there, the more the differences become aware to us, and we're always going to react to those differences based upon what we know. You know? But, you know... And then we're like, oh, what do you mean the toilet's like that? What do you mean the McDonald's serves, you know, a regional cuisine in addition to the Big Mac? So highlights what's familiar because that's what our brains instantly recognize. This is exactly the same in every place you go. You know, Starbucks is everywhere. No trouble with that line. Highlight what's familiar. Okay, so these two are perfectly fine. I have no problem with them whatsoever. Online and streamed games. Just here we go. Warning, trigger warning. This is where it gets upsetting. This is where it gets bizarre. This is where it's obvious two different people wrote this. So before we get any further, just if you need to step away, if you think this is going to upset you. All right. Online and streamed games. Remember that. Online and streamed games. Okay, just right here. Right? Okay. Just as you don't have to breathe fire in real life to play a Dragonborn in D&D, you don't need to be from the cultures that inspire the adventures in this book to play characters for them. However, take care to portray characters as three-dimensional people with relatable desires and fears. Okay. Thank you for giving us permission to play other cultures, Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, all right. Just as you don't need to breathe fire in real life to play a Dragonborn, in D&D you don't need to be from cultures that are inspired the adventures in this book to play characters from them. You don't need to be. We give you our permission if you want to play a French character, even if you are not from France. But only on online. Remember, this is only on online and stream games. So basically what they're saying, or what they're insinuating, and we're going to get into this a little more, is don't do anything that will come back and harm Wizards of the Coast's image online. How you act in the privacy of your own home, where we cannot see you, has no effect on us whatsoever. We don't care. But if you're going to be online and stream games, then we give you our permission to act a certain way so we don't look bad. Because remember, this section is titled Online and Stream Games, which again basically says you can be a horrible human being in the privacy in your own home, but the second you go online and start streaming D&D, we expect you to perform in a specific way. One person's culture isn't another's costume. One person's culture isn't another costume. Let's not have cultural appropriation. You do realize that America is a country literally built on cultural appropriation. There is nothing original in our country. Everything in America came from someplace else and is made someplace else. Made in Korea. Made in China. One person's culture isn't another costume. If you dress up, simple clothes are best. Avoid leaning into stereotypes or clothing with real-world religious significance. Instead, focus on everyday wear from the cultures you're exploring. Wizards of the Coast is telling you not to cosplay in any culture that isn't yours. So if you want to cosplay like Chun-Li, you can't unless you're actually Chinese. Only wear the clothing that somebody every day would wear in that society. So if you want to cosplay as Chun-Li, you got to dress as what a normal Asian policewoman would dress like, and not in the typical Chun-Li costume we're expecting, because, you know, that's bad. That's racist. That's cultural appropriation. Only somebody from that country in that line of work can dress like Chun-Li, like we see here in the game. You can only cosplay like Chun-Li if you're Yaya Han. Anybody else? Nope. Sorry. Sorry, Jessica. You can't cosplay as Chun-Li anymore. One person's culture isn't another's costume. If you dress up, simple outfits are best. Again, have you ever seen a Wizards of the Coast online or streamed game? Everybody fucking dresses up. They encourage you to dress up. Satine Phoenix is famous for her elf ears and always dressing up. Watch one of those things. They're always dressed up. Even if they're wearing normal clothes, they're wearing dressed up normal clothes. There's the guy in the black light, huge cowboy hat and the black leather jacket with the spikes, and he's got the fingerless gloves on, and and it's like, dude, we know you don't dress like that at home. You're dressing up in it to accentuate a certain image because you're on TV. Wizards of the Coast is telling you not to dress up, but if you are going to dress up, only wear clothes from that culture that are, t-shirts and jeans. So basically, wear what you normally wear every day, because it's safe to assume that anywhere you go on the planet, you're going to find shirts and pants and shoes of some form. But don't wear something that's specific to that culture unless you're from that culture. We give you permission to wear a t-shirt that is made in Korea and wear, shoes that were put together in some factory in Germany. But do not wear a cultural costume that is specific to a race or culture or heritage or historical place in the world. No, none of those Civil War people that, reenact the Civil War. Nope, you aren't actually from the Civil War. You can't do it. Ren Fair people in your armor and stuff? Nope. Unless you're actually from medieval England, you can't wear that. Just wear what you would normally wear. Mind you, every time Wizards of the Coast does a production of D&D, everybody they have is dressed up. But don't dress up, like an elf unless you're in fact an elf. Don't wear the clothing of the culture of a dwarf unless you're actually a dwarf. It is racist and insensitive for you to dress up like your tiefling druid character. I'm referring now to the trailer for D&D where there's the tiefling druid. Don't dress up like her. If you're going to go to Babylon 5 again in DS9, don't dress up like Cisco. Don't dress up like Spock. You cannot dress like Spock unless you're actually Vulcan. You cannot wear Starfleet clothes unless you're actually a member of Starfleet. Otherwise, it might insult something. You're wearing somebody else's culture like a costume. So just wear the normal everyday wear that an elf would wear, or a Klingon would wear, or Vulcan would wear, or Lando would wear, or a Minbari would wear, Don't dress up like other cultures unless you're actually from that culture. Then it's okay. Otherwise, just wear the normal clothes of that culture. T-shirts, jeans, skirts, pants, shorts, whatever. Again, this is from Wizards of the Coast, who regularly do productions with people dressed up. Also, more importantly, and I don't even know why I have to say this, but because you wrote it, you do know none of those cultures in your game actually exist, right? Right? See, this is why I think this was written for two different people. Because the first two are fine. I totally agree with those. But this is nonsense. And then it gets worse. This is only the tip of the iceberg. But just to remind you, Vulcans aren't real. Minbari aren't real. Elves are not real. Unless the ones that work for Santa Claus. Tieflings are not real. Dwarves are not real. They're made up. So I am not violating the culture of a Minbari if I choose to cosplay as a Minbari. Because they're not real. And I'm not sure what the everyday clothes of the culture of elves is. So, here we go. But oh no, it gets worse. Don't change your skin color. Don't go to the beach before a game and show up with a suntan. don't change your skin color. If you want to role play somebody from, I don't know, Asia, don't change your skin color to look like somebody from Asia. If you want to role play a Drow elf, don't change your skin color to the color of Drow elves. Because I guess they're basing this on that episode of Community when Ken Jeong dressed up like a Drow elf and he was basically just in blackface, which is the whole point of the joke, But yeah, normal D&D people don't change the color of their skin. In fact, how would you do that? How do you assume I'm going to change the color of my skin? Are you just talking makeup? That I'm gonna go? You're confusing cosplay and the amount of work and effort professional cosplayers put into their product and their art form. You're confusing what Jessica Nigri and Yaya Han and these other serious hardcore, professional cosplayers do, and D&D, And you other than makeup, there's really no way I can change the color of my skin. I mean, what are we talking? Injecting squid ink? Getting full body tattoos? I know they're doing some crazy stuff with jellyfish DNA and stuff like that to alter genetic structures on a molecular level to progress, like how they 3D printed a heart. And, skin grafts and stuff like that. I mean, they're doing amazing shit. But for me to change my skin color to emulate a make-believe race, like, let's say, Minbari or Vulcan, I can't. There's literally, unless I got a prosthetic, full-on body prosthetic, which you're telling me I can't do. You're telling Satine Phoenix she can't wear the elf ears anymore. Because she's not really an elf. But oh no, it get worse. Do not change your skin color. Do not alter your features. So don't wear the elf ears is what you're telling me. Or are you literally assuming that there is some level of technology that would allow me to completely body sculpt myself to look like a Drow? Or look like an orc, or look like a Vulcan. But now you're saying don't dress up like a Vulcan unless you are a Vulcan. Don't get any corrective surgery. If you show up at the game one day and you don't have glasses, and then you find out you need glasses and you get glasses, you can't wear the glasses to the game because you've altered your features. If you have cancer and you come back from chemo and you've lost all your hair, well, you can't come to the game because you've altered your features. If you decide to dye your hair blue because, I don't know, whatever, you can't. You altered your features, don't come to the game. How are people, what level of technology do you think we're at, again, that people are altering their features? You're confusing cosplay with D&D. You're confusing hundreds of hours of work and sweat and creativity for this artwork. You're confusing Hollywood-level prosthetics and costuming that allows these people to portray these characters at a cosplay scenario with a bunch of people sitting around a table playing D&D. Nobody who I have ever played D&D with or any other role-playing game in 40 some odd years would ever say, you know what, I'm going to go get surgery so I look more like my character. Yes, we know people have done that, and we know people are going to, Satine in her ears. But, yeah, in order to be more safe and socially acceptable, don't change the color of your skin, don't get a tan, and don't change your features. Don't emulate hairstyles you wouldn't normally have to appear like a different real-world ethnicity. So if one day you decide to get cornrows for some whatever reason, you can't. If one day you decide to shave your head like I do every month, you can't. You're emulating another culture's hairstyle. Don't dye your hair. Don't get a haircut. Don't change the way your hair looks. If it in any way, shape, or form emulates another culture. you do understand that every hairstyle is an emulation of a previous hairstyle, which is an emulation of a previous hairstyle, usually taken from other cultures. What's a good one? Dreadlocks. Now, dreadlocks, normally associated with a certain culture, but there are historical depictions of that hairstyle dating all the way back to the Dark Ages, to the Picts, to pre-Christian Poland. You know, pirates had dreadlocks. So yeah, Mohawk. There's one I grew up with. I mean, I grew up in the 80s in Southern California in the height of the punk movement. Mohawks. Mohawks were not invented by dissatisfied white kids in the San Fernando Valley. But there were plenty of us who had Mohawks. You know, mullets. Yeah, that's not an original hairstyle. That's emulated from another culture's hairstyle. But you can't do that. So basically, don't get a haircut. Don't change the color of your hair. Don't change the way you look. Just remain you. Similarity. Avoid mocking real-world accents in your roleplay. Really? Really? Avoid mocking real-world accents in your roleplay. So we can't do the Monty Python voices anymore, and I can't do a Russian accent for my Russian kobold anymore, and I can't do the angry barbarian voice that I'm doing for my barbarian anymore because it's mocking a real world. You do realize that that is a time-honored... I mean, show me one role-playing game group that hasn't done silly voices and, you know, Critical Role. Critical Role is all about silly voices. They made their career on silly voices. You know, Marissa does silly voices. Sam does. They do silly voices. They're using the accents of other cultures. So you're saying don't do that anymore. Critical Role, sorry. Matt Mercer, sorry, Matt Mercer. You need to end your career as a voice actor because you are mocking the accents of other cultures when you do the voice of whoever it is you do the voice of, you know, video game character. Can't do that. Sorry. Can't do it anymore. Please quit. So basically, in short, what they're saying is while you have our permission to roleplay a member of a make-believe culture and race, don't. Don't dress like them. Don't act like them. Don't surgically alter yourself. Don't in any way, shape, or form demean this make-believe race by putting on a culture that isn't yours. Be yourself. Just show up as you are and don't change. So whatever I look like now and however I act now is how I have to act when I'm at a game. I cannot act like a drow. I cannot act like a Minbari. I cannot act like an elf. I can't dress like an elf. I can't wear Satine Phoenix's elf ears. I can't, you know, take my glasses off. I can't change my hairstyle. I can't do this. Oh, your silly voice type. I mean, this, you know, usually when I do a silly voice, I do Gru because it's a sort of an, you know, Gru is an easy silly voice to do. But no, somebody might be offended that I'm doing Gru. Steve Carell, please stop doing Gru for Despicable Me because it's insulting to, I don't know, people from wherever Gru is from. You're not from there, so you know. And remember, online and stream games do not behave in any way, shape, or form like this if you're online. You can be the most fucked up human being imaginable in the safety of your own home. But if you're online, if this is on and recording, do not act in any way, shape, or form that anybody on the planet Earth could misconceive as quite possibly being inappropriate, because we don't want to have Dungeons and Dragons in any way associated with that imagery. These are our online streamed game rules. And these rules, again, are ridiculous. And it's obvious they were written by two different people, because gradual exploration. Perfect. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Highlight what's familiar. What's the first thing you see that you would instantly recognize when you arrive someplace you've never been before? Automatically, your eyes start looking for what you know. It's just how we are. Which is why Starbucks and McDonald's are everywhere, and they look exactly the same. And then we get into the online and streams games, okay? And they're saying, why we give you you can have our permission to play cultures from these made-up races, but just remember, don't portray them as actual people. The make-believe culture of an elf isn't your costume. And the real-life culture of, say, somebody from Asia isn't a costume you can put on. Sorry, Jessica, you can't dress like Chun-Li anymore. If you dress up, simple outfits are best. Avoid leaning into stereotype or clothing with real-world religious significance. So if you're a Catholic and you wear the cross, well, that might offend somebody. So you can't wear your cross anymore because it has religious significance. Instead, focus on everyday wear from the cultures you're exploring. What is the everyday wear of a Githyanki? What is the everyday wear of a gelatinous cube? Don't change your skin color. Yeah, don't get a suntan. And God forbid, don't put on a whole bunch of makeup to try and look like, a Vulcan. And, oh my God, do not get any surgery. Don't start injecting jellyfish DNA to make yourself look more like a dwarf. Don't do that. Don't alter your features. Don't get contact lenses, the OGGM. Don't wear the fake ears anymore, Satine. Don't get, some wacky backdoor surgery to suddenly give yourself gills. Again, don't inject that jellyfish DNA because, oh no. Don't emulate hairstyles that wouldn't normally have to appear. So you basically, mohawk, gone. Do not wear any hairstyle that is any way, shape, or form based upon a hairstyle of another culture, whether real or make-believe. Except, of course, every single solitary hairstyle is based upon a hairstyle from another culture. And again, elves and Vulcans and dwarves and Drow-elf and Githyanki aren't real. Don't do silly voices anymore. Sorry, Matt Mercer, you're out of a job. You can't do those voices anymore because they're mocking real people. Again, I don't know any actual orcs. I don't know any actual elves. I don't know any actual dwarves. I don't know any actually Vulcans. I don't know any actual Minbari. I don't know any actual gelatinous cubes. I wish I did. I could get it to clean my house. But yeah. All right. So of the two things we've read, the first one, I get what they were trying to say. I could see why that last line could be taken the wrong way. But that one's just like, yeah, okay, you're trying to do, this is the introduction. This is what the general perception of the world is like. Oh, rich people and poor people all get along. There's no crime. There's no suffering. It is it's a gleaming bastion of hope in the endless dark. It's literally the opening of Babylon 5. But then as we step in, we know that's not true. There are chinks in the armor. And that's the story Wizards of the Coast should have chose to tell. But for some reason they didn't. And instead they just want you to assume that nothing bad ever happens in this city. But that can't be true, because the second a first level adventurer comes back from their first adventure, second level, with a pocket full of 10,000 gold pieces and a magic item, they've disrupted the harmony of that utopia. But oh wait, whatever. Gradual explanation, no problem. That one I'm fine. Highlight what's familiar. Again, I'm fine with that one. Online and stream games, remember, we don't care what the fuck you do when you're at home, when we can't see you, but the second you're online, you have to follow these rules. Because we, Wizards of the Coast, do not want to be any way associated with anything that might be perceived as less than inclusive. And by doing this, we're basically telling people like Satine Phoenix, they can't wear your elf ears anymore. You're telling Jessica Nigri can't dress up like Chun-Li anymore. And you're telling Matt Mercer, sorry, you have to quit your job, Matt Mercer, because when you're doing those accents for the characters you portray in video games, you're mocking a real world accent. And God forbid a bunch of players sit around a table and do silly voices for their characters. I can't do my voice for my barbarian anymore because I might be insulting somebody who is a barbarian. Let me just remind you, once again, nothing in Radiant Citadel is real. There are no Githyanki. There are no elves. There are no dwarves. There are no gnomes. There are no Minbari. There are no Vulcans. And if anybody knows where I can get a gelatinous cube, great, because I need to clean my house. I don't know how to follow up on this. Radiant Citadel is so simple. It's such a simple idea. It's literally been done hundreds of times before. It's Deep Space Nine. It's Babylon 5. It's Stargate. All you had to do, Wizards of the Coast, was take what had already been done and change a few names. Your entire Radiant Citadel campaign could have just been every season of Deep Space Nine. Just change some names, add a few space elves, you're fine. But no. And I understand what you're trying to do, Wizards of the Coast. I understand what you're saying. But the way you chose to do this, especially this one thing of the online and stream games, what the fuck were you thinking? Do you actually think people inject black squid ink before they show up to games to look more like a dro? No, that is an image you created. You have your professional gamers on your professional shows dressed up. You created the Big Bang Theory culture. You created Critical Role. And now you're telling Critical Role you can't be Critical Role anymore. You can't dress up. You can't act like something that isn't you. Only be you. Don't be anything else, which is fine. Be yourself. Let's just end this. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, be yourself. Always be yourself. Unless you can be Batman. Then always be Batman. And I don't care how you act when you're at home or you're playing with your friends, as long as this isn't on. But the second you start broadcasting online and stream games and say as it's D&D, you better follow these rules. So sorry, Satine Phoenix, you can't show up at D&D games with your elf ears anymore. Sorry, Sam Riegel, you can't do Critical Role and make silly voices anymore. Sorry, Jessica Nigri, you can't dress up like Chun-Li anymore. At least not while you're online. I am the OGGM. I have wasted 40 minutes of your time going over this. I hope you appreciate it. I know I do appreciate you sticking with me. This is painful to read. This is really just mind-bogglingly self-destructive. This is going to do more harm than good. I already know that there are 5e players who are just going, no, I'm not going to touch this. Thank you again to Pundit for linking me to me. Thank you again to DM Kurt for linking to me. Thank you again to Raw Rasputin for linking to me. Thank you again to Robert for linking this to me. Thank you again to the 2 or 3 other people. I'm seeing notifications even pop up now. More people are linking it to me. I greatly appreciate it. Like I said, I didn't want to comment on it until I fully read it and digested it. And now I have. And I really don't know where to go with this because, yeah. Just, yeah. Yeah. I'm the OGGM. If you appreciate this nonsense, let me know. Please subscribe. Please support me so I can continue to do this stuff for you guys. I read the Radiant Citadel stuff, so you didn't have to. Till next time, get the fuck off of my interdimensional nexus.